A very warm welcome. If you feel that embodied and magnetic ways of working might be the path to you creating even more clarity in your passion-based work, drawing in even more clients with greater ease, and paving the way for more sustainably earning in your work, in your business, you're in the right place. And this is exactly what we're doing here today. So, a really warm welcome. I'm Jenna Ward, a feminine embodiment coach, and I'm joined today by, I imagine, a lot of coaches, a lot of creatives, a lot of entrepreneurs who have a passion that also they need to turn a profit. And I imagine you're here today because you're seeking more steady financial security, doing that work that lights you up, that is your highest expression. I know that's what called me out of the past career incarnation as a pharmacist and into this world of, I work in the realm of embodiment and as an entrepreneur for the past decade and beyond. If for you, it's time for your next level, for making your work even more magnetic so that you can receive consistent cash, serving those clients who need your magic without feeling like there's just endless wobbles and unsustainable finances, or you're distracting yourself with yet another bright, shiny creative project that doesn't bring your deepest work to life, then you're in the right place, and a really warm welcome for today. For those of you who are joining us live, I'd love to know, does any of this describe you? And what is the work that you're here doing? You might feel called to share that with me in the chat. There are a lot of familiar faces in the room today, but some of you I haven't had the privilege to meet. So, a very quick who the heck am I? Hi, I'm Jenna. This is a picture of me sipping some Prosecco while I was at work in Italy last month. So, I'm a feminine embodiment coach. I'm the founder of a school of embodied arts, and I come from a background of a very hard-working sugarcane farm family whose one of our most central values as a family was hustle. So, for the first few years for me working as a coach, it was really strongly shaped by this idea that the harder I work, the more I would merit success. But that didn't happen. Instead, my breakthrough in my own business came when I shut down my website, stopped stressing out about every little word and the most strategic way to put it out, and went all in on more magnetic ways of working. And since then, I've offered coaching, one-day retreats, women's circles, online programs, small group programs, and more in the one-on-one and group space at price points from $50 through to $10,000. These days, I work as a teacher, as a coach, and as a leader of our small team here at the School of Embodied Arts. But I'm also a mother. I have two young children, and I live between two countries, the Netherlands and the beach in Australia. So as a result, I work part-time and I'm in a season of life where I really need to work more magnetically, not harder, because I just don't have hours in the day. So, what we're going to be exploring today, just full transparency, the content, the materials that I'm sharing with you today are from a mastermind that I'm hosting, which starts next month. It's an 8-week mastermind for coaches and for creatives who want to get really crystal clear on their deep work, their messaging, so they can stand irrevocably behind the magic they're here to offer and to price it to create the income channels that allow them to receive more consistent cash with more ease. I'm going to speak more about this at the very end of today. Okay, so for a lot of us who are here in the entrepreneurial space, whether we're early in our business, whether we're further along and still figuring things out, or whether we're a seasoned CEO who wants to just do things differently, I feel like sometimes business is like Frodo's journey in Lord of the Rings. It's overwhelming. There's a lot of unknown. It's turned into like a 2.5 hour film with 3 trilogies. And it's this epic journey of becoming. And as you take more steps on the path, more and more allies, more and more fellows fall into step. And I hope to be one of those today. But To make today super practical so that you can get the most out of it, I would invite you to bring to mind a desire that you are calling in at the moment. Start pondering what that is. You might be calling in a client, multiple clients. You might be calling in 30 or 100 clients. I don't know. You might be calling in more crystal clarity on a particular offer or an up level of an offer. You might be calling in clarity or conviction around pricing or higher pricing. You might be calling in consistent, steady monthly income. You might be calling in a big cash injection for maternity leave. You might be calling in an upgrade to your clients or an expansion in your leadership. Or maybe it's something else. But I would invite you to think about what is it that you're calling in? What is it that you're ready to receive? And I'm going to be inviting us into a short arrival with that in a moment. We're here because that thing that we desire, that we want to create, we know that we don't want to only hustle to achieve it. We know that only hard work, effort, blood, sweat, and tears won't create the kind of success. And so we're here because we want to weave in more magnetic ways of doing. If that's you, you're in the right place. We're in the boat together here together. For many of us, despite having an idea of what we want and what we're wanting to call in, for some reason it hasn't come together yet. And often it's more than just one reason that it hasn't come together yet. We might be worrying that everything feels wrong. Is it worth it? Are people going to pay this? We might be feeling like I love my work, but I am lost in it. And so I keep distracting myself with all these sparkly projects that end up leaving me feel exhausted. We might be in feast or famine cycles with our income. We might be making small offers at prices that don't excite us and that aren't sustainable with clients that we may or may not have outgrown. We might find ourselves updating our website yet again instead of doing the marketing that's going to call in our deep service. Or we might feel like we're spending all our time on social media, but just like running on a treadmill and not getting anywhere. And I understand all these dynamics intimately because I have seen them played out for myself, for my clients in many, many types of business. And so if you're feeling these way, you are not alone. If you are in a season of becoming in your business, and those seasons of becoming happen at two key points. First is during the startup years. That's generally the first 1 to 4 years of a business when we're figuring out how to reproducibly make money. The second season of becoming is when we're up leveling our work. So we're expanding into a new level. It might be a new depth of our work, a new refinement, or a new way of delivering it. But whichever season of business, whether it's startup or up level, the very definitions of these seasons, the point of these seasons is to figure out how to consistently call in cash. Because until that we have that, we don't have a sustainable model. So today we're going to be addressing these fundamental seasons, these fundamental questions, looking at how do we get behind our desires and dial up our magnetism so it can just all be easier. How do we cut through the busy work and take the most direct line to results? And how do we put all the most potent pieces that really matter together without getting lost in the details? We're going to dive into all these areas today. But before we do, an invitation to center your desire. So just coming back to that question, what is it that you are calling in? I'm going to invite us to take a moment through a short, guided, embodied magnetism practice to begin opening up in this direction. So, if it feels available to you, I invite you to come join me in shutting down your eyes or bringing your gaze to be soft in front of you. Taking a breath and maybe resting your hands on your body somewhere that feels supportive, that feels nourishing. Maybe place your hands on your legs, or maybe you feel called to rub or hold your belly. And with your eyes closed, your gaze soft, turn your attention within. And there's nothing you need to do but just notice, how is your body as you take a breath as you feel the weight of your body in the chair beneath you, and as you arrive in this moment. And you can let the breath, the inhale, bring you deeper and deeper, noticing the texture, the temperature of the air as it moves across your skin. Noticing if your shoulders, your chest, or your belly might move or adjust with each inhale. And if there's any change to your posture, to how you're holding or moving your body, as you let your awareness slow down and turn within, you're really welcome to be in this inquiry, rested in stillness, but equally, you're welcome to move. Mm. Move in ways that feel sincere and that help you to stretch out and unwind so that more of your awareness can pool in your chest. Mm. And alongside any movements, if there's a sigh or a sound out that helps you to drop deeper and fall more fully into the center of yourself, you're so welcome in that. And so as you arrive on the seat that you're on the land that you're on, I invite you to bring your awareness towards your heart, inviting your heart to open and just noticing what's here. And there's no right or wrong experience you should be having. This invitation is just to slow down, to open your inner gaze, to notice what is here to be felt or thought or seen as you turn your awareness in. Ooh. Just get curious. Mm. And as you're arriving in your body a little more fully, so too is the room arriving together. And I invite you now to bring to your inner gaze your desire, that which you're ready to call in and receive, that more consistent income, that next 5 clients. Hmm. Whatever it might be for you, just bringing that desire to your inner awareness and pausing here to get really curious about it. As you notice that desire, and you might call it forward as a thought or an image. How does it feel in your body? What kind of thoughts or sensations bubble up in response? You might notice, is your desire inside or outside you? Is it really close or is it far away? And there's no certain experience you're meant to be having here. Instead, I just invite you to receive these prompts, resting back and just getting curious, noticing what exists between you and that desire. You might feel something in your physical body, a tension or an opening. You might feel something in your heart or your hands or your shoulders. You may notice a thought, a story, or an idea come to mind. Just get curious. What exists between you and your desire? Who are you in relationship to it? Who are you in relationship to it? And who is it in relationship to you? You're welcome to leave your body still and heavy as you contemplate these questions. You're welcome to move and adjust if that helps you to move deeper. How does this desire feel about you? And as you rest into that inquiry, I invite you to bring any final movements or adjustments to your body and seeing if you can distill just into a few key words. What's the nature of your current relationship with this desire? Like, what does the body have to say? And then when you're ready, gently surfacing your awareness to the room around you, looking around, maybe repositioning your body, and coming back to rejoin us in the room. And for those of you that are here live with us, I'd love to know, what did you notice in your body? You might have noticed a thought or a feeling, an idea. You might have sensed an energy or a distance. There's no right or wrong for that. You can share what you noticed in the chat. And this is very important somatic data because what we just did was the first step in dialing up our magnetism in the direction of our desires. So let's speak about this a little more, shall we? The role of magnetism in calling in what we want. Because if we do want to irrevocably stand behind our desires, if we want to make them inevitable, I believe the first and most important thing that we need to begin with is magnetism. Magnetism is this innate quality that exists within all bodies, of all genders, of all identities. And it is a feminine quality, one that we can attune to, that we can awaken, that we can turn on more intensely. A beautiful example of magnetism is the moon and the tides. The moon, which holds a magnetic presence, as it circles the earth, it actually draws the waters of the ocean towards it. And so the rise and the fall of tides that we see is because the moon is pulling those waters, pulling those tides towards her with her inherent polarity. And we too have this same polarity. Magnetism is the feminine half of how we get shit done. And yet, in this hyper capitalist culture that you and I and us all live within, we are taught, we're indoctrinated to really focus on the practical, the linear, the logical, and the productive half of the equation. We're encouraged to start work behind our computers, to work hard, to overwork, and to grind towards our goals, believing that merit alone will bring success. But the problem with that is, I'm not against hard work, but the problem with that is, if our feminine receptivity is not dialed in first, all of the planning and the strategizing and the hard work will not yield the result that we want. We may say that we're ready to call in clients or cash or a particular offer or a particular desire, but deep down, if our body is a secret no, is a secret resistance, tension, surface depletion, and I see this all the time. If there is a secret no, all the doing in the world won't help. My clients tell me things like, I want to get out of feast and famine cycles, but I just don't see how it can easily be done. They tell me things like, I want to call in clients at a higher price point, but will people even want to pay what I need to charge for this to be worth my time? And my clients tell me things like, I want to do my depth work, but when it comes to actually marketing it, I'm in this really deep and protracted wobble. And what I hear from all these clients is that all the hard work in the world won't create a consistent income. It won't deliver your deepest magic to your clients if deep down you're a secret no. And I understand that place really intimately. On the surface wanting something, but deep down, your body is not ready, receptive. It doesn't believe that it could be possible. And this secret no turns off our magnetism. It actually inverts our polarity. I went and raided my 6-year-old's room for props to demonstrate this point. If we've got a desire, you're the unicorn, by the way. We've got a desire and we've got you. Okay. So, like the moon and the tides, what should be happening is we state our desire and we say, this is what I want. I want whatever, 5 new clients. And when our whole body, from the surface all the way down to the core, believes that, we put our body in this attracting type state where, just like a magnet, you can think about the fridge door. It's like when you close your fridge door, that door want to suck straight towards its desire and it sticks firm closed. That is a magnet that is in an attracting a polarity. The magnets want to come together, they want to stick. You're on your desire, you want it. Your actions from that place are going to be really aligned, effortless, and successful, like the moon. But what happens for so many of us is that we have a desire, and yet within us, we're a secret no. Our magnet, our body magnet, has been switched around. So we've got the end of the magnet that no matter how much you try and force it towards the desire, it will not move any closer. It's in a repelling orientation. When you try and bring those two magnets together, they just won't come together. There's no way, because deep down, the receptivity is actually dialed to an avoidance. And this doesn't make us inherently wrong. There's nothing deficient or broken or problematic with that. But if we don't fix, if we don't correct or work with that polarity first to change it from avoidance to a receptive quality, we're just going to make ourselves have so much busy work that's very unlikely to create the outcome that we want. And I used to do this all the time. I have clients who do this all the time. And so, what we want to do instead is address this energy so that we don't have to make things complicated, so that we can take the most simple path. Because there's a difference between having a few doubts and worries, a few kind of surface, superficial, like, oh, I'm not sure, but I can dust that off pretty easily, and the deep kind of no that says, I really don't believe I can have this at a deep level. And when we don't address this, we get busy and we waste so much time and attention and energy. We charge prices that don't excite us. We keep our work hidden while researching every possible strategy. We get busy with all the kinds of website updates and redoing our photo, redoing our branding, making another Canva post, none of it resulting in a sale. We keep creating and iterating and redoing our offers again with a different title and one extra PDF. And instead of standing behind the one thing, we get busy doing all this busy work, hoping that working hard and hustling will be the solution, because that's what our culture has taught us. But the feminine half of the equation is not dialed in. And so, what we want to do instead is to remember that our work does not start behind our computer. It starts with embodying these three truths. They are: one, I am irrevocably behind my offer, and my commitment only grows the more I get to know it. Two, my work is desired and it is of deep value to the world. Take a moment to sit in that. How true does that feel for you? My work is desired. It is of deep value to the world. And three, I have been called to do this work because it is wanted. I'm curious, do those feel true for you? How true do they feel? These are really important pieces of the magnetism equation for us to dial in first. Now, there's more steps, there's more layers to this magnetism method, but it starts with really noticing what your relationship is with your desire, noticing how you feel in response to it, how it feels in response to you, and seeing where is there more possibility that we can dial up, because so many of us are highly sensitive and attuned to the parts of us that doubt and that have that no, that secret no energy. But magnetism says, let's bring our attention and dial up the level of sensitivity. Let's dial up the time that we're spending focusing on the part of us that says yes. Because you would not be here today, still doing this, still figuring it out, if some part of you wasn't consistently whispering, yes, 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 there has to be a way. I don't believe we're called to do this work because, like, for no good reason. We're called to do this work because it is wanted, it is needed, and it is allowed to be easy. So, magnetism asks us to consider, where in your body do you feel some possibility, some receptivity? Can we dial that up? And before I go to work, I work part-time. So, maybe it's in the morning, maybe it's a bit later in the day, but before I do my work, I dial up my magnetism, tapping back into these truths, because that is what makes the outcome inevitable. And I've seen this shift with my clients as well. I was working with a client who was feeling so foggy around their work, despite loving and feeling so passionate about the transformation they were here to serve. And we dialed in the magnetism, the value piece, really anchoring it deep. And it shifted. It shifted the clarity for this client. I was working with another client who kept creating these small programs that weren't her deep work and that nobody really wanted. We dialed in the real work that she was here to do and deepened that sense of conviction and magnetism around it. And it shifted. The right type of clients began showing up. And this is a pillar of embodied ways of working, a pillar that says magnetism first. And it might seem lazy or unproductive or like, well, what does it really look like, Jenna? It begins with just noticing your orientation to your desire. But it actually increases your productivity tenfold, because every action that you then go on to take is imbued with this yes. It's imbued. This is such a perfect prompt. It's imbued with this like sparkly, like a unicorn. Yes, I am destined and it is inevitable. And that makes the type of decisions that you make, the type of actions that you take, dramatically different. And at the same time, lounging around, doing nothing but eating grapes and playing your magnetism playlist. I've got a playlist for you, I'll share at the end. That also doesn't work. We do actually have to do something. And for coaches, for creatives, for people who are in service-based work, there are three specific things that we need to be doing. So we can think of today's workshop as around magnetism and the masculine structures that we need to put it in place. So I'd like to spend some time chatting with you about that now. Before I move into these masculine structures, though, I'd invite those of you that are here and that are listening in just to check in with, okay, which piece is landing for me so far as a remembering, as an upgrade, as something to center? What's landing for you so far? The three pillars, the first of the three pillars that I'd like to speak about today are around nailing your next level offer. Before I can do that, I want to first define what exactly is an offer. How is that different to a body of work? So, all of us here in the room, I imagine, are developing, are reimagining, or are upgrading our offer. That is the service or the product that we put out into the world. We can think about our offer and our body of work as being two interconnected pieces of a whole. Your body of work is the universe that you want to live inside. It's the movement, the passion that you are here to birth. So for me, one of my bodies of work is around a more embodied future, a more sensually alive world. And there are a lot of different ideologies and methods and insights and experiences in that body of work. It's like my full library of all the embodiment stuff. And it's the creative capital that sits at the heart of this body of work. Your offer, on the other hand, is just one book from that library. It's a packaged, polished version that somebody can pick up, experience, and get the results from. An example for me is over on my website, there's an at-home embodiment practice for people who want to get out of their head and dial up their body's sensitivity. It's called Primal Feminine Flow. Primal Feminine Flow is one book out of my embodiment universe. And it's a way that somebody can access some skills, some knowledge, some transformation by engaging with a particular small offer. The reason I want to distinguish these two is that a body of work is immense. It is it is like a, it is like a Sarah J. Maas novel universe. There's like eight and more books, constantly more books coming. So a body of work, most of us have a body of work that we're distilling. And sometimes this body of work and this offer can get a little bit messed up because we're trying to put everything that we've got into this one offer into the world. And that can feel really messy. Yeah. So I want to start this nailing your offer first with the idea that there's a difference between your body of work, which you will keep maturing and developing and expanding if it's your legacy work till your end of days. Yeah. But you can pull out discrete offers from that body of work, individual books that are smaller, more bite-sized components for them. You can have hundreds of offers all from one body of work, or you can have one. It's not right or wrong either way. I mention this because this is just an important distinguish in our lexicon of language. Because when it comes to making consistent cash and calling in clients, you have to have an offer, yeah? And you have to feel like your offer is really nailed in, like it's your best offer. It's something that you can stand behind, that you unquestionably know the value of. And when we don't feel that, when we feel a bit off, when we feel a bit wobbly, like I'm devoted to this, but I can't kind of quite get some form around it. I know what it is, but I'm not sure how to offer it. I'm not sure if anyone wants it. I'm feeling lost within it. As a result of this wobbliness with the offer, we tend to do two things. We either hold it back, so we don't market it, we don't sell it, or we offer a smaller version of it, like at a lower price point or to a different type of client or in a different form that's less desirable to us. And I see this a lot, and this is the foundation of the business. So it's really important because we got to start here. Because if you are not holding your offer as the most valuable thing that you could put out into the world, there is no hope that your clients ever will. Let's just sit with that statement. If you don't hold your offer as immensely valuable, there is no hope that anybody else ever will. We can think about our offer as the core asset that sits at the heart of our business. And if it isn't solid, the business isn't solid. It's like opening a restaurant. This is the restaurant from Emily in Paris. And then saying the food here isn't any good. We all know the food here is good because Gabrielle cooks here in Emily in Paris. But if you don't have good food at your restaurant, if you don't hold that central asset as something that is valuable, yeah, nobody else is ever going to. And I understand why it's so incredibly challenging to hold the value of our offers because, well, you might not have evidence of it yet. You might not have made $1 bajillion selling this thing yet. And so our sense of its value might not be reflected in the ways that the world tells us value should be measured yet. But when you're birthing offers, it's also compounded by the fact that whether it's your first or your 50th offer, birthing an offer is often a very confusing process because your work is still maturing, and that is normal. So I like to think about our offers as being a little baby. I've had two, so I know what this is like. To begin with, your baby, your offer, it's inside you. You're conceiving it, you're gestating it, you're walking around living with it. Yeah. And yet you don't know what that baby's going to be like. How's it going to sound? What kind of hobbies is your baby going to have when it turns 16? Yeah. Who's it going to be friends with when it goes to uni? You don't know. What kind of car is it going to drive? What kind of hairdo is it going to have? You don't know any of this stuff. And you're not going to know those things until you let your baby be born and you let it mature, until you let it grow up, develop its voice, develop its opinions and its expressions. For so many passion-based creatives and entrepreneurs, myself included, we want our baby to be born as this fully mature, perfect, refined, elegant thing. But at the same time, we can't keep this, we can't keep a 20-year-old in our womb. So the key shift that we need to think about is that our work is always going to be maturing, and that process cannot happen quietly inside of us. You have to birth your baby and then get to know it. You have to co-create your work as it matures. Yeah. One of the key shifts that I found really supports myself and so many of my clients around this is to know that I stand behind my work even as it matures. And I co-create my work with the body of work, with the offer, with my clients as we all get to know it and see it grow up together. The hot tip here is that we do not stand behind our work. You don't get to that place by updating your website 278 times. Yeah. Tweaking this copy, changing that offer name. That's not what is going to get you to stand behind your work irrevocably. It happens by embracing it, just as you would a baby who needs love and care to mature. A story to put this into context. About 9, a little bit more years ago, I set up a school called the School of Embodied Arts. We have a number of the graduates of this school on the call with us today. And since then, we've had about 850 people graduate as feminine embodiment coaches. And I still remember this question I got from one of our very first participants back in, this was 2017, 2018. This participant asked us, Jenna, how did you have the ovaries to say, I'm going to set up a school and a modality for the very first time? And I thought that was such an insightful question because I did not set out to create a modality or a school. That's not what I was planning. That was not an offer that I was planning to build as my body of work was being birthed. But that's how it turned out. From one-on-one offerings to group offerings to VIP offerings to there's a modality here. Gosh, world domination of feminine embodiment coaches wasn't my plan. But as the work continued to mature, that's what it wanted to become. And it's a real gift to be a custodian of that. So as my work matured, as I co-created it with my clients, with the body of work and the offer itself, as it matured, it took on a life of its own. I did not expect that was the kind of adult it was going to grow up to be. Very practically, there are a few steps that we need, but first, just really landing in this internal shift. I stand behind my work. I'm here to co-create it, to care for it as it matures. Just inviting you to feel and orientate towards that and just notice what arises for you as you're in that. What arises for you? Now that we've spoken about the inner shift, one of the key inner shifts to nailing your offer, that's the feminine depth. I want to speak about a practical piece as well. Okay. There are quite a few practical pieces to really nailing your offer. We will not have time to go into all of them today, but we do go into them more deeply and make it magnetic. The tip, the suggestion, the shift that I want to share today is this one. To really nail your offer, one of the key pieces that you need is to clarify what is the heart of it? What is the outcome that you're promising your clients are going to leave with? Your outcome is just one sentence. Yeah. And it is a sum of the entirety of your offer because your clients are not buying the minutes, the modules, the extra bells and whistles that you're offering them. Those things matter, but that's not what sells people. What really sells people is the transformation that you're here to deliver, the outcome that they are going to walk away with. I've mentioned two offers so far already on this call, not because I've mentioned a few, not because I'm trying to sell you into them, but just to draw on some examples that I have consent to share. So, one is the coaching certification I've already mentioned. The outcome, the promise of this offer is we'll give you the frameworks and the language to navigate the nebulous world of the embodied feminine so you can create profound somatic transformation with your clients, anchored in your own rich personal resonance. In one sentence, that's what that program is about. Yeah. And I didn't come up with this outcome before the offer existed. It was like it got co-created along the way. But your offer becomes really magnetic when the outcome is clear, when it's irresistible, when it's aligned with the transformation that your clients are receiving. And so the question for you to consider is, well, what is the one result, the one change that your client will feel or see or embody after going through your offer? You want to really answer that question. What's the one key result or change that they will feel, that they will see, that they will embody when they go through your offer? This is like the center point of your offer. It's the words that you're probably going to say more times than you can count. Everywhere across everywhere across your messaging, and we'll speak about messaging later on. Yeah. So I've seen this play out for clients. Yeah. Clients who were adjusting their messaging all over the place for social media to get some reach on their reels, and it wasn't converting to clients. We dialed in the offer and the outcome, and the client started showing up. I had another client who kept making a lot of small group programs that were not for her ideal client. We rejigged her offer. It was from the same body of work, but we reclarified the offer and dialed in the outcome. She started booking 10K clients. Yeah. Because when we nail the next level offer, we stand in the value of our work and we co-create with that body of work as it matures. Pausing here for a second. Before we move on, I'd love to invite you to just take a little movement moment. We've been here for a little while. And I invite you to take a breath and just adjust. Oh, have a little stretch and a refresh in your body before we go again. Mm, mm, mm. And when you're ready, recentering your desire, what you're here to call in, and let's bring your desire back to your front and center as we move into this next little stage of our journey together. Whew. So our next stage, magnetism still underpinning all that we do, but once we're dialing in more of our offer, allowing it to mature, allowing ourselves to stand in the value even as it matures, and dialing in the one key outcome that it's here to create. Once we've got that piece dialed in, we can move to the next stage, which is about consistent cash and opening the channels for money to flow towards us with more ease. So let's talk now about consistent cash. What we all want, I imagine, is work that pays us sustainable cash. Yeah. Personally, I don't need like a seven-figure business. I want wage security. I want steady income. Yeah. I want money in the bank to pay me a wage for months to come. To me, that feels way sexier than being like, let's have a seven-figure business in 7 minutes. But there's no wrong with that. Nothing wrong with whatever it is that you might want to call in around consistent cash. So, consistent cash, what we want is sustainable income. But what most of us have got, most of my clients have got, is feast and famine cycles. So it's like, woohoo, oh no. They've got pressure, like, I need to start making money with this. They've got a question mark about the financial model. Like, it doesn't seem like it's all lining up. I don't think I've got it stacked correctly. And they've got questions about, are people really going to pay what I need to charge for this to be worth my while once I've factored in daycare and the cost of expenses and the salary that I'm replacing? And these are all really valid desires. Yeah. So if you're feeling like, oh, my bank balance is a little bit sad, but you're also thinking, I need this to be easy. As with all things, we can either do it with more hustle or with more magnetism. Okay. So the mantra for hustle is just do more, do all the things. Yeah. And that then looks like that energy of like, let's just do more and do all the things. It looks like overcomplicating things, starting over from scratch, trying it 5 different million ways, chewing something new every 3 minutes, coming up with offers that actually aren't financially sound. And all of this hustle is built on the idea that, like, I've got to work so hard in order to merit, in order to be worthy, in order for this to work. And there is sometimes hard work involved, but that's not where it starts. I would suggest that it should start with magnetism, because magnetism, on the other hand, reminds us when we clarify our desire and when we dial up our receptivity from that state of deep receptivity, from that state of, I am open and deeply willing to receive my desire, and it is inevitable, we take the most direct path. Yeah. So the mantra for magnetism is, my work holds immense value, and I open the channels for money to flow towards me with more ease. I don't want you to like paste this mantra on as some band-aid over the top. That's not what embodiment work is about. But I am curious if you can find 1 or 10% of your body that whispers, yes, that's true. My work does hold immense value. I do open the channels for money to flow towards me with more ease. Like, is that alive inside of you somewhere? I would suggest it is. And I wonder how much of your day or how much of your practices are focused on cultivating the volume of that voice, because that's where it's at. So, magnetism tells us consistent income is possible, and clients want to pay you what your work is truly worth. Yeah. I believe that the callings that we have to do this work, to be on this path, we would not be called here if it wasn't a magic that the world needed. I I strongly believe that. But at the same time, we do need some masculine structure. We do need some financial masculine supports. It's not all lounging around eating grapes on the couch. So when we pair these supports, which I'm about to go into, with that magnetic orientation, it makes sure that our doing is aligned with our receiving. So the practical piece of this is, and let's workshop this for a hot second together. The first piece is to know, do you know what your monthly desired income is? Do you know how much money your business needs to earn every month to cover expenses, to pay you a wage? Do you know that number? You need to know that number. If you know that number, great. You can share it in the chat. Or if that doesn't feel comfortable, I get that money is a thing for some of us. And that's not wrong or bad. It's like, okay, there's tons of cultural stuff wound up in that. If you know that number, great. If you don't know that number, just take your best guess for right now. And I'd invite you to just take a breath and bring your awareness into your body, imagining feeling that number. You might hold it in your inner gaze. You might place it on an inner altar. You might just imagine checking your online banking and seeing that number in your bank account. And just notice how your body feels. Does it feel inevitable? Mm. And what if this desire wasn't a wish, but just a structure to hold? What if this was not a wish, but simply a structure for you to build, to allow it to flow in? Mm. Just inviting you to notice how that feels. And then if you're here with us live, you might share in the chat. And there's no right or wrong way that you should be feeling in this, yeah? There's not one experience we should be having. It's just, again, this question of if I have this desire, what orientation is my body holding towards it? Like, who am I being? Is it possible? Is it inconceivable? Is it somewhere in that messy middle? Really practically, if we dial this in layer, and there's like 6 to 8 layers of this that we can dial it in. I'm just going to take us through the first few together in the interests of time. So if we know what that desired monthly income is, and we can feel what our relationship to it is, if we're not receptive to calling that in, 9 times out of 10, it just won't arrive. The feminine solution here is to, of course, dial up our magnetism. And on the masculine side of things, we can dial in some metrics. The first two metrics that I like to map out are your wellness number and your stretch number. Okay. So your wellness number is like everyone, so many of you shared in the chat what it was that you were calling in. 5, 6, 7, 10K a month. Here for it, loving it all. So good. Brilliant. Now, is that like the upper limit of what you want, the lower limit of what you want? Personally, I get a bit stressed out when it's like there's one figure and it's do or die, yes or no. Personally, I love me like, here's the range. When I reach this number, this is the minimum that I need to be well, but I'm still solid. And I can also stretch and imagine and dream all the way up to this upper limit where I would be delighted to be. Clarifying those two numbers, the wellness and the stretch number, whether it's per, I find month to month is really practical because you can keep track of your metrics month to month. It gives you a range to sit within. And when you know that wellness and that stretch number, you can then ask yourself, all right, well, from this figure, how many of my offers do I need to sell each month to make that a reality? Super simple maths. Here's some client examples. I had a client, Satya, who had a £900 offer. She was doing a ton of work to sell that offer. And when we mapped the metrics, we realized that the type of audience she would need to keep that price point was just unsustainable. It was not the type of marketing effort that she wanted to do. So we changed the price. We added £500 to the price, got that calibrated and dialed into her body. And then she ended up with a business, an offer, and a price point that she wanted to have. Yeah. I had another client, Heather. We dialed in her wellness and her stretch number. We calculated. Now, Heather was like a bit of a more creative CEO. She had a number of different offers already. And Heather wanted to save up for some maternity leave. And she told me, I just want to do what's creative and what lights me up, but my bank balance is also feeling real skinny and I need to go on maternity leave soon. So, like, I need financial security for that period. So, Heather and I ran all the metrics. We got a reality dose of like what each offer and what would be required, how many of each offer would need to be sold. And we then just tuned in. How much marketing are you available for? How many conversations to sell this do you want to have? We just looking at these metrics determined which was going to be the most desirable, not necessarily the most profitable, but the most desirable. And Heather ended up launching her most profitable offer to a wait list of past people. She got 10 enrollments into her offer, didn't have to do any marketing. And it's like, oh, she was jazzed for that. So in my business, I know my wellness number, I know my stretch number, and I know then month to month which metrics I need to be hitting in order for those numbers to be achieved. Now, metrics can freak us out. I was honestly hesitant to speak about and even use the word metrics with us because for some entrepreneurs that I speak with, they can seem like so hyper masculine and too structured, and we've departed from that realm of reality, which is like only about the metrics to the point of sometimes burnout. So we can have a little bit of energy about the idea of metrics, but at the same time, when I can see at a glance what metrics I want to hit and where I am in relationship to those metrics in real time, I can see where the gap is. And I can use those metrics to determine what needs to be done. What's most important? I can pressure test new offers. Is this worth my while? Yeah. I've got like 6 offers that are just floating around here at the moment that all want to be birthed. And I'm like, you know what? You've got to be put through my metrics and you've got to really be worth my time and energy for me to invest in you. Because if I'm going to choose to build an offer, I want it to be like, it's like birthing a babe. I want to be committed to you for the long term. I want us to be successful together for days and years to come. So I'm not going to jump into just whatever sparks my creativity this Tuesday. I'm going in with a view to like, let's be in relationship and mature and be successful together. And having these metrics enables me to do that. So these metrics invite us to stop seeing money as this random, purely luck kind of scenario and thinking about, well, if we map one offer to our wellness and our stretch goal, how many clients do you need at what price point, over what time frame, and what kind of audience do you need to sell? So we're starting to get a little like we're going down the rabbit hole, and I want to pause there because within the time constraints of how much time we have today, there's only so much we can workshop around this. But the intention here is to think about some of these numbers as the channels that allow money to flow towards you. And it begins with this internal shift. My work holds immense value. And then the practical piece is opening the channels with your eyes wide open for the money to flow towards you. So, you might know it right now, or you might workshop it later. What's your wellness number? What's your stretch number? How many offers do you need to sell to meet those figures? And does that maths excite you? Those are the 4 questions to ask yourself. Does that maths excite you? Okay. So we've spoken in brief around consistent cash. We've got one final morsel that we're about to dive into. Before we do, I want to share some information with you for those who are called to go a little deeper around what we've been speaking about. As I share this is a good time just to have a little moment for movement. So if what we've been speaking about today does land for you, yeah, if you're enjoying what we're speaking about and if it feels like, aha, I do want to make that cash lighting in ways that light me up. I do want my next level offer to land. I do want my magnetism dialed all the way up. I do want to step confidently into clearer money channels. And I'm hosting a mastermind. It's starting next month. It's called Make It Magnetic. It is an 8-week mastermind that begins 13th of October. Enrollment closes at the end of this month, so there's only 5 more days to join us. And this mastermind is high touch coaching. It is a virtual community of embodied humans. And what we're doing together is we're coming together for defining a new magnetic default setting in your body that creates more clarity, navigating your offer so you can do the legacy work that you're here to devote to. We're dialing in more consistent cash, mapping out pricing, conversions, audience models. We spoke about the first few metrics. We're going to go into even more and curate them for everyone individually. And then we're going to speak about magnetic marketing, which I've got some little pearls for you to share with in a moment. So doors are open now. If you want to learn more about what we're doing and if you'd like some support in diving into this deeper, I would love to invite you to join us. And you can find out more and join us for the coming 5 days over at School of Embodied Arts/magnetic. For those of you that are here live, I'll pop the URL in the chat there for you. And if you have any questions about that, just let me know. Okay. So now that we have spoken about our first 2 masculine pillars, it's time to dive into the third and the final, and that is magnetic messaging. The energy here is every expression draws me closer to the clients that are meant for me. Let's dive into this piece. This is one of my favorites and one that I continue to refine. So we're on the home run now. If we want consistent cash, we need to express around our work. Exactly as I just did. I told you all about the outcome and the offer and the work, expressing about it, telling people about it. But oh, what a minefield expressing about our work can be. So many of us are stretched by this dimension. Rightly so. It can feel like a minefield sometimes. But not surprisingly, the energy that we hold here is so critical, yeah? Because if we want sustainable income, we need to bring together masculine and feminine structures in our expression, in our marketing. It's not only the words that we say, it's how we say them. So I'm really curious for those of you that are here in the room, what feels sticky in your expression? If you'd be so happy to share. And for those of you catching the recording, I invite you to contemplate that. What feels sticky in your expression? What I hear from my clients a lot is that they're either not speaking a lot. There's something going on that's resulting in them not speaking out as much as they think they could or should. They're maybe not speaking at full volume. They're maybe not speaking the words that they feel like their clients can hear. So what that sounds like is they tell me things like, I need to be bolder in my communication so people really feel drawn to me. And I've heard my clients say things like, I'm not marketing my deep work. I'm doing all the other stuff, but not that really important piece. They tell me all the time, I do not want to dance all over social media, but like, is there another way? And I hear you, I am not dancing all over social media either. And they're also feeling like I'm speaking into the void, and is anyone even hearing me? Like, does anybody even hear what I have to say? And so in this case, they're either not speaking up much or they're not speaking particularly consistently. That's one of the big challenges that some of my clients have. But then on the other side of the equation, what other practitioners share with me is that they are talking a lot, but they're really excited to talk about their process, their transformation, how many sessions, the service they're providing, and a lot of their sentences start with I. I have this, my experiences of this, and so there's a lot of talk about them and their process, which is less captivating to a client because just like my 6-year-old daughter, our clients, only want to talk about themselves in that way. So, as it relates to marketing, as it relates to expression, What I want and what a lot of my clients want is we want messaging that does not require us to have some complicated PhD. And we want messaging that reflects us, not the latest, trend on the algorithm that we have to like jump and spend a bazillion hours figuring out how to film. Oh my gosh, I couldn't think of anything more exhausting, and I don't personally want that business. Though if you do, that's awesome and you do you. So, what I've come to learn about messaging is that messaging is not about talking louder. It's not about saying more. Messaging, the key trick with messaging is that it's about listening. As your body of work matures, and it will continue to mature indefinitely, that process never stops. Yeah. But as your body of work continues to mature, as you co-create it with your clients and with your offers, you will learn and you will hear the way that everybody else describes your work. And the more that you listen and ask for that feedback through your clients, challenges and pains and wins, the more your messaging will get potent. And this is a conversation that you cannot have with yourself. It is not possible to birth the baby when the baby's still inside of you. You can't have a conversation with the baby when it's still inside of you. So your work has to be out in the world. And as you put it out, as you have conversations with people in your DMs or over a cup of coffee or with your clients, as you speak to real other humans who have challenges that your offer helps to solve, magnetic messaging reminds us that all messaging that we receive is not a reflection of worth, it's just feedback about whether the words that we're using are the quote unquote right words that our client can hear and see themselves in. And the way that clients can hear and see themselves best is to use their own words. Magnetic messaging reminds us that every time we express, even when we're not getting it perfect, it is a conversation that's drawing you closer to the clients that are meant for your work. So the shift that we need to make is to know that if we want to get more magnetic, we need to listen a lot more than we talk. And that's not very conventional advice because messaging doesn't require you to be a copywriter or have some PhD or be a social media ninja. Good messaging simply says to you, listen. Listen to what your clients are saying. Listen to when they respond. Listen to when they step forward. Listen when you use this word versus that word. Hear them. Yeah. Be in service and hear them. Because it's not about whether you have some magical channel to the ultimate truth or not. It's about whether you're using words that your client can see themselves in. And these shifts, this shift that reminds us messaging is just feedback. It's not a reflection of your worth or of your offer's worth. Yeah. If your offer's not working yet, it's not because there's necessarily a problem with your offer. It could be that you're just not using the right words yet. Yeah. But every time you do express, viewing it this way, we can see that you're getting closer and closer to more specificity every time you express. So, my hot tip on a really practical term is to create a steal their words vault. If you take nothing from today's session, go and do this after we talk. Yeah. So, I have a steal their words vault. I keep it on my desktop. It's just a document that I dump words that my clients say into. And they could be telling me things from an email back and forward. They might not be a paying client yet, but we're having a conversation. You may have emailed me this week and I've put your email into my Steal Their Words vault. Maybe it's a reply DM, a transcript of a coaching call. I'll often look at my client session notes and see what did they say? How did they say it? Could be comments on a social media post, a blog, a podcast. Could be I'm just speaking with a friend who has a similar challenge and I hear just how they say it. Yeah. And instead of using my language, I want to, every time I write something, I go to my Steal Their Words vault and I substitute my version for my client's version every time I can. Where I might choose the word, I don't know, let's say, do your legacy work. My client might instead say, This work is my soul's purpose on this earth. Yeah. So it's a subtle shift, but I'm going to choose my clients' words. And it's not hard for me to do or guess because I just steal their words with love and consent. I'm not sharing it with anyone, it's just living on my desktop. But right now, there's an invitation to start a diary, a virtual document where you can gather all the real words, all the phrases from conversations and emails from current or past or future clients. And when you use these exact words, your messaging feels much more relevant and impactful to them. I have a document, I copy and paste into it, and I reference it every time I write an email. Right now, you might be thinking of a particular word or phrase that you hear all the time from your clients. That's what's going to start off your steal their words vault. And when I've used this with clients, what they have told me is I had a client who kept tweaking their copy and their branding and was spending so much money on like branding and rebranding, but the right clients weren't showing up. And so together we decided to put out 4 free. They were just like 15-minute mini sessions. We got the transcripts. We stole the words from the clients. And now this past client keeps getting emails from her email list saying, I feel like you're speaking to me. And I get those emails too. Not all the time, but sometimes I have people reply emails saying, I feel like you're speaking directly to me. And that's what people want. That's what's magnetic. Yeah. People feel like they're being seen and heard because you're listening to them. You're co-creating your messaging, not from what you think they need, but from what they are telling you. So this is my fourth and my final piece today. And what we've covered, just to sum it up, so far in the Magnetism over Hustle webinar is number one, magnetism. Dialing up your feminine receptivity to call in your desires. We've spoken about nailing your next level offer and both internal and practical shifts to make. We've spoken about consistent cash, again, internal and practical shifts to make. And we've just spoken about magnetic messaging, internal and practical shifts to make. As we arrive towards the end of our session, we have some time for Q&A. So I would invite you, if you have a question, you can pop it in the chat now. And now's also a great moment to check in. At the very top of our session, I invited you to think about what are you calling in? And I'd love to invite you to take a moment, check in with that desire, and just notice how you feel in relationship to it now. Sometimes simply being in a community of like-hearted people who are moving in the same direction, who see the magic that is still becoming, can be a fuel that we can tap into to go further together. I'm all for that. Yeah. So I'd invite you to check in with your desire now and to reflect. There's a number of practical strategies that we've discussed today, but what's the one most important piece that stood out to you? What's the one most important piece for you to put into practice? You can let me know in the chat if you have that. And for those of you who are called to go deeper, you know where to find me. I'm be over in Make It Magnetic from next month. There's one or two of you in the room who have already signed up to join us, so I'm really looking forward to that. That's us wrapped for today. I want to share so much thanks for joining us for the Magnetism over Hustle workshop. I hope that you've enjoyed it. I'm going to hang around for 5 or so to answer any key questions that you might have about our workshop today or about the mastermind. I'll answer those now. Thank you so much for being here. And on behalf of our room, it's been great to journey with you today. Okay. Oh, hi, Megan. Nice to see you. So many familiar faces. Okay. So I got a few questions here. I'm going to dive straight into those. Page shares. I'm at the start, up and down, that you've spoken about, not needing to have a fancy website, but I feel I need a team to do all the technical stuff so I can focus on the creative work. What would you say about that? Yeah, so I would say if you have consistent cash flow to pay a team, go right ahead. And if you don't, you probably just need go-to contractor who you can get to do like bite-sized chunks of work so that you don't have a wage or an every month obligation weighing on you if you're still figuring out your consistent income. I myself have a team of six, and so I'm responsible for my own wages and six other people's wages every month. And you need really sustainable income structures in place in order to carry that responsibility. Earlier on in my business, like before I started our school and had employees, I was more of a solopreneur. And so I would have just like my go-to contractors. So I could have a discrete budget, a specific objective, and that worked a lot better because I knew in advance how much I was going to have to pay, and there was clearer bounds around that. Hope that helps, Paige, and let me know in the chat if it does. Now, there's a question about call times for the mastermind. Excellent question. Here is a link that I did not prepare earlier, but that I can quickly grab for us. I'm going to pop it in the chat. So I'm in the Netherlands, and all the call times are suitable for Europe. They're also very suitable for the US, particular both coasts in the US. So the mastermind is going to be a combination of some beautiful devotional practices for you to do, workshops, and going deeper in your own time through a curriculum. It's not a heavy curriculum, but there's a base curriculum for all these components we've spoken about today. And then on top of that, we've got small group masterminds, group coaching and live calls, group somatic practices so that we keep moving through this together as well. And I'm available in the virtual community for as much supports that as you need during our 8 weeks. So you don't have to attend every live call. All the calls will be recorded. We will make sure you get everything that you need to be successful. Not from an energy of overgiving, but from an energy of we are committed to you getting the outcome. I'm so committed to you and it. Okay. If you're catching the call recording, I'll put and you'd like the live call time link, I will pop that on the sales page for Make It Magnetic, which is at School of Embodied Arts/Magnetism. Okay, Megan's asking, how do you know if it's time to change your ideal client or your offer? Right now, I'm a wellness coach. I'm struggling to get traction after a few years. I've been teaching yoga, Pilates for a decade now, and considering shifting into teaching mentorships and certifications. Great question. Okay, there's a bit to diagnose in here, but it starts with, do you enjoy what you're doing? And is this the thing that you are waking up burning to do? I feel like a lot of us get into this work because it is like purposeful work. I would use the word legacy, but that's not the word my clients use. My clients say, I want to feel on fire for this. I want to feel like this is why I have been put on this earth. So that's where I would start. I would start with, are you really jazzed for the current client and offers that you have? Because and and is it something that you can see yourself talking about for the coming 2, 4, 6, 10, 20 years? I think that we don't know where we're going to be in 10 or 20 years' time. But if I'm making a commitment to build out an offer, I want it to be something that I'm so lit up and so happy to talk about, and that I imagine I'm going to be happy to talk about for years to come, because that is required. You are going to have to talk about this thing for years to come. Yeah. If you want to become known as that thing for that purpose, if you want to carve out a proper niche for yourself, you need to speak with enthusiasm about that thing for years. It's not going to be years before you make good money out of it, but once you find your repeatable channels. So, is this the thing you burn for? Are you happy to talk about it for a long time? You've got to have both, I believe. Everyone's free to do what they want, but I believe you do need both those ingredients. And when you have them, that is a sign that you're doing work that is worth figuring out. There's nothing worse than, putting the effort in to figure out an offer that then 3 months later you decide, I'm just so not excited about this. So those would be the two questions that I begin sitting with. Megan's asking, would your magnetic masterclass be suitable to support this transition? Yes, I think it would be. Very seriously. We're asking a lot of these questions, like what is your legacy work? What is your most purposeful work? Does the business model work? Because you can have something that you were excited to talk about and a body of work that you're deeply devoted to. But if it's not in an offer that is profitable, like if the book that you've pulled out of the library, to use the analogy we were using in today's workshop, if that book isn't profitable, if it requires a marketing apparatus that's really complicated, or that has you like needing an audience of 10 bajillion people, and that's not who you are, then that's not a business model that you want. You want to be excited by your business model. So, absolutely, Make It Magnetic, the mastermind would be suitable in that transition because we would be looking at if you have this body of work, which offer do you want to pull out? And what are the really practical logistics and metrics of making that offer work so that you can know upfront what you're in for before you commit, before you invest? I hope that helps. Oh, great. Okay, I think those are all of our questions. I'm just having a quick scroll to check. Oh my gosh, I'm just so excited by what you are all here to create. So jazzed. Final question from Paige. Who's taking the sessions in the mastermind? Me. You have me for 8 weeks. I am front center, community manager, main teacher, curriculum curator. This is a body of work that I have been delivering one-on-one and doing behind the scenes for about 5, 6, 7 years. But this is the first time I have offered it in the mastermind group. So this is an old and established body of work, but a new offer. Will it be a big group? I imagine we're going to be somewhere between 30 and 50 people all said and done between different time zones. We'll have some small mastermind groups within that, optional, where you can partner up with people that are at a similar point in business to you. We'll then have community supports and live calls where you can bring along your challenges. We'll be dialing up our magnetism together and we'll be moving through hot seat coaching so that you can move forward. Yes. Final question, Nadine. What if I don't have a body of work established just yet before I have an offer? If you've got an offer, you've got a body of work. You can't actually have one without the other. But bodies of work only grow bigger and bigger the longer and longer you have them. So, what you need for Make It Magnetic to work is you need the offer, you need an offer or the bones of an offer that you're ready to really distill and nail. It might be the idea of a journey that you want to take with a client. It might be something that you've sold or that you haven't yet sold. All of that is okay. But if you have the bones of an offer, it could be current. Some of our participants in the mastermind have past offers that they didn't love that they want to rework. Some have current offers or even suites of offers that they're wanting to play with. What you'll be in a good position, Nadine, and all you need is the bones of an offer that you're ready to nail. Okay, great. If you have any further questions, I'm here to help. You can reach me at support@jennaward.co. Enrollment for the Make It Magnetic Mastermind is open until end of the month. So come on over if you want to join us before then. It'll be so much fun. Otherwise, this call recording will be up, and I would invite you to go back through that if it excites you. There's so many wonderful self-reflection questions built into here and energizing the shit out of all of your magic so we can all just make it more magnetic together. Yeah, the world needs the magic that you have been called to share. Thank you so much for joining us today. Bye for now. Bye.